Hello guys, welcome back to another little video for After Effects, teaching the basics of animation. Previously we looked at basic setup of your composition, and today we are going to just set up our rigs for our characters and our props. So we're working with two props and this one, one prop and one character. Very simple wee character. He's got no joints or anything in his arms, so we're going for a very simple, the most basic rig that we could assemble. Should give you a recap of some of the stuff we covered in class. We'll do the rig in this video, and then we'll cover some animation basics in the next video for you. So let's just get straight to it. Back in After Effects, here is our little critter character. We also have our contraption, and we will work on that later on. We'll work with the critter for now. You'll see I have a test scene here that's still blank. I want to rig up these two guys before I move on to animating my scene. So what I'm going to do, I am going to rig this guy up so that all of his different limbs are attached to his body. At the minute, if we move the body, nothing else moves along with it. So there's two things I want to do anytime I rig up a character. First of all, I have to parent one layer to another, and then I often want to change the pivot point of that layer. So let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to take this arm. At the minute the arm's freestanding, and I want it to be a child of the body. So we have parent-child hierarchies. Wherever the parent moves, the child will move with it. So at the minute, I've got no hierarchy set up. So if I move the body, it moves on its own. What I'm going to do is just look down here at this little whip icon, this little squiggly, swirly line. And I'm going to click that, from the arm. I'm going to click that and drag it from the arm layer, which is my child, to my body layer, which is my parent. So we work from child up the chain to parent. We work up the chain from child to parent. The arm is now a child of the body, and you'll see there in this little column, whereas these all previously said none before, now this one says body. And now if I select the body and move it around, you can see the arm is moving with it. I can still move the arm independently. And even if I move the arm way over here, if I move the body, where the body goes, the arm will go too. So let me just move that arm back to position. So the first thing I want to do, I want to parent everything up to the body. I want to parent the two legs. I don't have a rear arm, I've only got a front arm. But I want these two legs parented up to the body. So again, I go to the child. I click my little, what's called the pick whip, this little squiggly line, and I drag that up to the body. Another method for doing this, you might find it a wee bit quicker, is if you click on your layer that you want to parent up, you can click this and it's like a drop down box and it'll show you all the layers in the composition. So rather than doing the wee click and drag from the whip, you can just choose what layer you want to be the parent. In this case we want body. The body doesn't have a parent at the minute. The shadow, we could parent to the body as well. If we want to make our rig really simple, we can do that. This bottom layer here, layer 1, that's just a white background layer. I just have that in there so we can see the character easier. When it comes to actually animating, we're going to just disable this, turn it off. So we don't need to parent that to anything at all. And the body has no parent. So now when we move this, everything moves around at once. Next wee thing we want to do, again, is a two-part process. We want to move the anchor point for our elements. So if we take the arm here, we can see, if I zoom in, we've got, this is the arm, and outside the bounds of that is a little rectangular box, and you can see the 8 wee squares here on the corners and top and side. We also see a little target icon in the middle. That little target icon is the pivot point, and the pivot point is where this object where it'll rotate around and where it'll scale around. So if I was to rotate this object, you'll see, sorry, if I was to rotate that arm, you'll see that it rotates around that little target point in the middle, here where my mouse is right now. And that's no good to us, because if I wave my arm around, it'll actually rotate at the shoulder. It won't just rotate through thin air. So what I want to do is move this little pivot point up to the shoulder. And it's very easy to do that. Instead of using my move tool I normally have selected, I want to scroll over here to this little icon. On mine it is the 6th little icon across. Newer versions of After Effects, there might be a couple of other little tools in there, but it will always look like a little dotted rectangle with 4 little arrows inside. And if you hover over it, it should be called the pan behind tool. Shortcut key for that is Y. If you press Y on your keyboard to get that, but we'll click that. And with that active, all we need to do now is click on that anchor point and we can drag it up to that shoulder. There we go. So now if I go back to my rotation tool and I rotate that arm, you'll see it is now rotating around the shoulder. Much better. That's exactly what we want. So all I want to do is move the anchor points of these other elements. If I click the body itself, here's the anchor point here. And if I rotate my body, that's how my character is going to rotate. Say I was doing a somersault through the air or whatever, that's how he's going to rotate. That's not too bad, but if I want him to bend over and pick something off the ground, that anchor point's a bit too high. His body's got to rise above. So what I might actually do is just take that anchor point and move it down to around about his hips. And that way when I rotate this guy, it'll look a bit funny because his legs are going to fly everywhere. But now when he's rotating, it's more like he's leaning forward at the hips rather than he's doing like somersault in midair. Let me select this front leg and zoom in a bit and just move that pivot point. Oops, wrong tool. Move that pivot point up here to the top of the leg again. And I want to do the same for the rear leg, but I can't really see the rear leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the body layer. I'm just going to open up my properties here. Hopefully you can see that. My face isn't blocking it. I'll just raise this up a wee bit higher. And with opening the properties, the transform properties for this layer of the body, I'm going to turn the opacity down a little bit, just so that I can see that rear leg in behind. There we go, that's all I need to do. Now I'm going to select this rear leg, my anchor point tool selected again, move that up. And now that's in the correct place. I'm just going to go back to my body layer here, put the opacity back up to 100%. Perfect. So I will bring you back down. We can now close up with that little triangle there. Actually, I'll just show you that from behind my face. We'll just press this little triangle here, and that collapses down all the properties. There we go. So technically at this point we do have a rig all set up, but there's a couple of other things that I want to do. Oh, by the way, I was just panning around there. I just want to drag this around. All I'm doing is holding the middle mouse button, my little scroll wheel. If I click that down, icon will change the wee hand. I can just pan around. So if I'm zoomed in nice and close, I can just pan around. Might come in handy for you. So what was I saying there? Yes, this rig will work. It's a basic rig, but there's a few problems with it. I want to change a few wee things. Main thing being, as we saw, if I want this guy to bend over and I rotate him around, every part of him, including the shadow, is rotating around. So that's no good. We don't want that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here to the top. I'm going to create a controller object for this guy. And then parent some stuff to that controller object rather than to the body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go layer, new, null object. This creates this wee square here, which is invisible. It won't show up when we render it around animation or anything. It's just a control object. It can hold keyframe data, it can hold bits of information and stuff and location data. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my move tool, I'm going to grab this guy and just pull him down to between this guy's feet. It's always useful to have this down here, I find, because if we're wanting to make someone walk along a path, it's easier to have that null object on the path. So it's easier to eyeball them actually walking along it, so they're not floating in space or whatever. So this null object here, I'm going to click on it, make sure it's my selected layer. I'm going to hit the enter key on my keyboard. So at the minute it's called null1. That's not really any good to me. I'm going to call this character controller. On a more complex rig, we can have multiple controllers. So we can have one for the eyes, we can have one for the face, as well as the body and stuff like that. So in this one, we're going to have one, but again, always a good habit to get into good naming conventions. So we've got this character controller, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to parent the shadow to this character controller so that it's no longer controlled by the body. Now if I select the body and rotate him around, shadow stays where it is. I'm going to take the body and I'm going to parent it to the character controller. So previously the body was the top of our chain, but now the character controller is the top of our chain. So watch what happens now. If I take my body and I make this little guy jump up in the air, there we go. Now I can take the character controller and I can move this, and both the shadow and the body will stay together. So let me see, just move him back down there. What else do I want to do now? This next stage, what I can do is I can take the legs, and instead of parenting them to the body, I could, if I want to, parent those to the character controller. And what that then allows us to do is take the body and rotate the body, and there he's picking stuff up off the ground and his legs are staying on the ground. Now I'm going to need to play a little bit with my anchor point there for this to work. So I might take the anchor point of the body, and it's not perfect, but for a simple little rig like this, if we actually move that point down to the same spot as the hips for the top of the leg, let me see, this should work now. Look at my rotation tool. If I rotate that body, there we go, he's bending down, he's picking stuff up. Now what this will actually do is it will break the rig a wee bit on the leg in behind, but again, we're not going to see that. And truth be told, a rig this simple, I hadn't designed them with picking stuff up in mind anyway. When you're creating your characters, it's always a good idea to think at the start, what am I going to make him do? What's the limits of his motion? And that'll influence how you design it and where the joints are and stuff like that. I'm just showing you this as a demonstration that how to make a character that bends over, but in this case, this guy, if we go too far with it, it will break the rig. It is possible to break your rigs. So we don't want this guy doing too many gymnastics. We just want to be simply walk back and forth across the screen. But that wee rig is set up nicely. I think that's everything I want to do. We've got the character controller is now the parent. The shadow is connected to the character controller. The body is parented to the character controller. The arms still stay connected to the body, but the legs now, if you want to make them be able to bend over like that, we connect the legs as well to the character controller. And that is our little critter. What I'm going to do is take this critter and I'm going to rename this as critter underscore master. What I'll probably end up doing, if I'm making multiple scenes of an animation, I might have this guy walking in one scene, I might have him picking up an object in another scene, and I might have him jumping or rolling downhill, whatever, in another scene. And what I'll do is I'll duplicate this master rig. It's rigged up, but there's no animation applied to it. I might duplicate that and animate it in different ways. So we'll have several different compositions of this critter. So name this one as master, and then we'll go to animate it. We'll create a duplicate of it. That will be a later video. I think we'll leave it here for now for this rigging video. We didn't touch the contraption, but the contraption is actually a lot simpler. It works the exact same way. We just go our little pick whip and we connect our child objects like this piston here. We'll connect it to the main body, and we move our pieces as necessary. We have these gears here, and all I would do is make sure my pivot point in that is in the center. These gears go to rotate around. I'll just make sure the pivot point is in the center, stuff like that. Nothing complicated. Works exactly the same way as the critter. This one I wouldn't even need a controller object for. This is just going to be a prop, a machine that sits in the background, and it just chugs kind of up and down. It's got to be stationary. It's not going to be moving across the screen. So it's actually a simpler rig. But I'll maybe do that off screen in time for the next video. I'm going to leave that here for now. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you for the next video. Thank you very much, guys.